Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Andy Deal, and I'm your host. So this is the third week in a row that we are having this webcast on this topic. Obviously, this is a topic that's on everyone's mind. February 1 is right around the corner. So I encourage everyone to bring lots of questions and ask your question. This is what we're here for. We have a lot of customers who have concerns and wondering what's happening with their licensing. So now's the time to ask your question. There's still time to act on it. And Anthony and our customer care team and myself are here to help you do that. So welcome to our webcast. And at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Anthony. Anthony, to you.
Great, thank you, Andy, and welcome everyone. Thank you for attending today. Like Andy said, this is something we wanted to make sure we continue to message until the very last possibility. It's amazing, a year has already gone by since we initially started sharing with customers what Autodesk plans were for licensing. And we're a handful of days away from the change actually starting to take effect. So I want to encourage all of you to make sure that you stay through the entire presentation. Like Andy said, we've done several of these, and from talking to customers, a lot of customers really get a significant benefit by asking questions towards the end of the presentation and listening to answers to those questions from others that are asking. So make sure you're not shy about asking, and make sure you stay to the end so that you can hear the responses to those questions. I will, just learning from the last few sessions, pause mid-presentation for some questions as well, so that everyone has a chance to get their questions answered. But again, thank you all for attending. I want to introduce you to a couple other people on my team. I'm looking at the list here. I know most of you on this call, so it's good to see all of you attending the session. I also have Rich Sanchez, who many of you may know from our Lifeline support team. Those of you that call in with technical questions, need help either from an installation standpoint or product use, features not working correctly. Like I say, Rich is one of the members of that team, and many of you may know him. So I encourage you all to reach out to him if you do have more technical related questions. And then Joe Meridian on my team is one of our representatives that focuses on working with customers that have subscription contracts. He's a subscription expert, have a subscription, or are debating on the type of subscription you need, to reach out to Joe. Both of them will be on the phone with me, and between the three of us, we should be able to answer all the questions you ask. So again, make sure you're not shy about submitting your question. So the agenda today is really, I wanted to talk, one, about what's actually happening, the facts about the subscription model change, and then give you some recommendations and trends we see customers taking advantage of based on the changes that are coming. And then, as I mentioned, we'll have time for a Q&A. So when we look at, and a lot of you, I've learned from talking to many of you that attended these presentations, most of you have heard of the change, but have questions about how it's going to impact your specific environment. For those of you that don't, Autodesk is changing their licensing from a perpetual, or you buy and kind of own rights to use the software forever, to a subscription model as they go forward. And there's a couple phases to that. So again, they're changing their licensing rights to more of a subscription model, and we'll talk about the specifics of that in more detail. The first thing I want to make sure everyone knows, because the majority of you on the line, as I'm looking at this list, are maintenance subscription customers, meaning you've bought licenses over the many years you've owned them. You've added a maintenance subscription to that license, which keeps that license updated and current. For those of you that have those subscription contracts, nothing will change to your environment. Nothing will change to the licensing you have. The only thing that will be more important than ever is that you continue to renew those licenses, and renew those licenses on time. as Autodesk changes to a subscription model, not renewing on time will impact the use of your licensing as you go forward. In the past, there was some kind of grace period and allowance Autodesk gave. As we go forward, you'll have to renew on time. And we're seeing many of our customers, not only make note of that, but also looking at their subscription contracts and extending those contracts for multiple years so that they're covered and they're able to lock in rates that exist today. But again, I want to re-emphasize, those of you that have maintenance subscription, your users will not see any disruption in terms of how they use licenses. Nothing will change in terms of your licensing as you go forward. And as long as you continue to maintain and renew those licenses, your licensing will run the same way as it's been, and you'll enjoy the same benefits you're used to enjoying with maintenance subscription. As we go to the subscription model, which is more of, think of like a rental type model. You pay and you use software, when you pay for it, you pay kind of as you're using it. And you can pay in different periods. And that's one of the first benefits I want to talk about. We see customers that have a workforce that increases or maybe downsizes based on projects. This allows customers to purchase licensing at a lower rate and continue to pay for that license only as you use the licensing. So as an example, you may want to buy licensing for a period of 3 months, or every 3 months continue to extend them, or a year or 3 years like we talked about. When you stop paying, you no longer have access to the software, but you're also not paying for it anymore. So it gives you a lower cost of entry and allows you to manage kind of a growing and maybe shrinking workforce if you have project-based needs. You'll also enjoy more of a personal experience. All of you, I'm sure, are familiar with different phone applications, websites that you log into, either for personal accounts or work type accounts. And because these require a username and a password, they can start to be more intelligent about that actual user. Understand what some of your habits are, trends are, and personalize settings and things of that nature to make it easier and make your experience better as you use the software. With a rental or subscription model, in terms of turning off and on users, that happens quickly because there's no CDs and no shipping that has to happen. We simply activate your account and you can log into your account and start taking advantage right away. And we'll talk about some of these other benefits as we go forward. Those are just a handful of the things I've seen customers enjoy. And just as a frame of reference, I'll throw it out there because somebody did ask in the last 2 sessions. For the last 2 quarters, so 6 months, KETIV has been offering, obviously, for the last year, these subscription licenses. And we've started seeing more customers gravitate towards that licensing faster than we expected. Over the last 6 months, 4 out of 10 licenses that we sell are in the new model, the model that will exist as we go forward, the subscription model versus a perpetual. So perpetual still sells 6 out of 10, but 4 out of 10 of those licenses, customers are choosing this route over the existing model that we've had for really the life of these products. So when you look at today, and today meaning really we have 4 days left until the end of this week, January 29th, you have the ability to choose any of these options. Okay? And I'm going to go through each of them specifically so you understand the differences of each of them. But really, there's a few options. The first 3 listings you see are going to be the new model. The model, again, it exists today, but will be the only option as we go forward. And that's the ability to purchase what's called desktop subscription. Okay, it allows you to activate a license, pay for a user, activate their license, and that user can enjoy using the license as long as you have that license activated or pay for the period of use. The second type is a desktop subscription with networking capabilities. So what this gives you the ability to do is pay for access to one license for a period of time and share that one activation with multiple users. And the Autodesk system will only allow one user to be in use or active at one time. Okay, so you can buy one license, I can share it with me, Rich, and Joe, and the Autodesk license manager will only allow me, Rich, or Joe to use it at one time. Okay, I can use it in the morning, Joe can use it in the evening, and Rich can use it, while we're at lunch. So just to give you an example. The third type of subscription is a cloud subscription, and some of you on the line here I know are using some of the abilities with cloud subscription. Cloud subscription exists for some of the newer technologies that Autodesk has rolled out. Tools like collaboration for Revit, PLM 360, Buzzsaw, some of the simulation analysis tools that Autodesk has are a cloud subscription format. And this means that the software is really running in the cloud, data stored in the cloud, and it gives you the ability to kind of invite work groups or teams to look at and collaborate on data at the same time. But again, it's a pay-as-you-go sort of model. You pay for a period, you can use it, each user has a sign-in, and the real difference is that the software and the data is actually stored in the cloud. Okay, so those are the three subscription options, and these options we'll show you in a minute will continue to exist as we go forward. The option on the bottom is the option that's been around for probably 10, 15 years now, which is maintenance subscription. And again, most of you on the webinar today have maintenance subscription in place. Maintenance subscription is a feature you add to a perpetual license when you purchase it, and that maintenance subscription is an annual fee that you pay for to keep your license updated. Okay, so as new releases become available, if you're on maintenance subscription, you get access to those new releases. And there's other benefits we'll talk about in a little bit here. And this is what will no longer be available real soon, and we'll be clear on exactly what that means in a second. Okay, but today through Friday you have these four different options. Maintenance subscription, again, is what most of you have today. Not only does it keep your licensing updated, but it also gives you additional benefits. And we have some of this information on our website, but again, feel free to call if you want more detailed information. I'll give you a handful of the benefits. One of them is, as an example, licensing use rights. So if you travel internationally, let's say as an example, by having your license on maintenance subscription, one of the benefits is it allows you to take your license with you when you travel and use it in other countries. And there's different periods of time that you can actually use it for. It gives you the ability to use your license at home. So as a user, if I want to have a license at work and install a license at home so I can go home, practice, maybe learn some new features and tools by being on maintenance subscription, it gives you the ability to do that. It also gives you the ability to use previous versions of software. So not every customer that we have that has a maintenance subscription wants to use the latest and greatest release. This 2014 or 2015 release and not be forced to use the latest release that I was shipped. And then you get some email support direct from Autodesk that gives you a 24-hour response time to questions that you have, that you may have on the software. The second option, again, as we go forward, will be the norm. The only option is desktop subscription. And we've talked about some of the benefits of this. Really it's a lower cost of entry, making it easy to scale up and down, and therefore, you're reducing your risk of having to lay out a lot of cash up front for a perpetual license, not knowing how long you're going to use that license. Some of the other benefits are similar to maintenance subscription in terms of support and the usage rights. And then the third option is a cloud subscription. Again, this is available for some of the newer technology. I mentioned some of the products earlier, and you'll see this available on products that are really more collaborative or require a lot of computational power, like simulation. Things that you may not want to run on a desktop, but you want to benefit by running a real complex, heavy problem in the cloud so that you benefit from multiple processors. And that's an example in our simulation products that exist that allow you to run problems there. But the big change, again, that's coming, it's right around the corner here, starting next week. Maintenance subscription, perpetual licenses with maintenance subscription will no longer be available for products that are called individual products. Okay, so an individual product is a non-suite product. So think of products like AutoCAD LT, AutoCAD, Revit, Civil 3D, Inventor, AutoCAD Electrical. These are individual products. They're non-suite products, and these products will no longer be available for purchase in a perpetual manner with maintenance subscription beginning next week. Beginning August 1st, all products will no longer be available for purchase in a perpetual format with maintenance subscription. So all of the suite products will no longer be available. So there's really two important dates. February week, you'll no longer be able to purchase individual products in a perpetual manner. And August 1st, you will no longer be able to purchase any of the products perpetually with maintenance subscription, which is the option you see listed below. So I want to, we have more to present, but I want to break this up a little bit and pause maybe for 5 minutes, Andy, if we can take a few questions that have come in, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the presentation. So again, I encourage all of you to ask any questions. We will get to every single question, but let's take a handful of those questions now, Andy.
Okay, sounds good, Anthony. So at this point, please enter your question into the Q&A panel if you have anything to ask about what Anthony has presented so far. There was a question that came in Anthony, from Steve about maintenance subscription, but I think you just explained that that whole situation. So Steve, I hope that answered your question, but if it has not, please give us a follow-up question. So a question that we have coming from Ron, regarding CDs or of the previous version that we have, can we continue to install and use them?
This is Rich. Ron, that's a good question. So for previous versions, what Anthony was mentioning with the subscription model, that you are allowed to use prior versions. The way that works is currently Autodesk allows you to use up to 3 version years back. So for example, the current version is 2016. You could use a version as far back as 2013 under the licensing agreement. So we can certainly help you with that. If you have more questions on that or how to get that going, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, and again, just to be clear, that is a benefit of maintenance subscription. So by being on maintenance subscription or desktop subscription, you have the ability to do that. And again, as Rich said, I encourage you to reach out to the Lifeline team. We'd be happy to help you with that, with your specific case.
And just to add to that real quick, just to be clear, that's on the same machine. So it is one license, one user.
Okay. We have a follow-up, not a follow-up question, a question from Mary. They have a subscription, actually, sorry, their maintenance subscription is expired. They're still using Inventor 2013. Mary wants to know specifically, how does this change affect them?
Hey Mary, that's a great question. This is Joe here. So, your maintenance subscription, if it's been expired for more than a year, then we cannot simply renew that. Your 2013 Inventor will still work. It's yours to keep and you can use that. But this change is going to affect the way that you get current versions. So that 2013 is yours to use, but in 5 years from now, the hardware that you're going to use at your organization may not support that 2013 license. So you will need to get a new version at some point in the future. After February 1st, you will not be able to purchase another version of Inventor. You will have to go to the term-based rental only. So yes, that software will work, but as you do need to get newer versions moving forward, you will no longer be able to purchase them. You will only be able to rent them.
Yeah, and so the options, it's not like there's one right or wrong option. To just add to Joe's answer, today until Friday, you have two options. You have the option to continue to get a perpetual license, which is what you have today, Mary. You can get a perpetual license, subscription or not, and you'll be able to use that license as long as you're able to run it on hardware. Or you can buy desktop subscription, okay, which is a lower cost to get current, but it will require that you pay for that and in order to continue. So today you can get a current version of Perpetual, use it as long as your hardware runs it, or get desktop subscription today or in the future, which will bring you current at a lower cost, but require that you continue to pay for it each year in order to use the software.
All right, thanks. Well, we have lots of questions that are coming in, which is fantastic. Please keep entering them. But at this point, I want to go ahead and move the presentation forward so that we can have more time for questions at the end. And I just want to remind everyone, we will stay on to answer every question. So please go ahead and type them in as we continue.
Yeah, so thanks, Andy. So we'll so when you look fast forward to August 1st, once we're past these couple of dates here, these will be the options you have for acquisition of all software. Okay, and they're all subscription options. Again, that means that you pay to use the software. Okay, and you can pay in different periods, either quarterly, annually, or for multiple years. And what I want to talk about next is really, based on this information, what we see our customers doing and what we're recommending you take a close look at and want you to do before the first date comes up, which is Monday next week. So let's go through these few different trends that we're seeing people take advantage of. First one is networking their perpetual licenses, their maintenance subscription licenses. Okay, and what I've done here is I've listed a handful of reasons why, or use cases where we see customers doing this. In fact, we're right before this session, we're talking about a customer of ours who's been a customer for a good 10-15 years do this exact same thing. You have users, okay, so 3 or more users. You'll probably want to consider networking. You should consider networking. If you have multiple locations, so locations maybe in LA and Dallas and maybe other parts of the world even, international locations in China and the UK, you will want to consider networking. If you have more than multiple users in different time zones, okay, you'll want to consider networking. And the reason all of these make sense for networking is by networking your perpetual license, it will allow you to share those licenses with multiple users. So as an example, there's two situations that may come up. One is, let's say you have a pool of 10 users, but really the 10 users only use the software half the day. Okay, some of those users use it in the morning, other users use it at night. Maybe you have some users here, some users back east. So obviously there's some difference in time zone. If your users are using licenses less than 60% of the time, networking your license will allow you to buy a smaller quantity of licenses, share them with more people, And then the server will monitor and make sure that only the right number of people are accessing software at a time. Not only will it control the access, but it will also give you, as an administrator, reporting on what your usage is looking like. So when's your peak usage? How many times did somebody get kicked off a license or get denied a license? So you can start to plan as you go forward and not just have a gut feel on whether or not you need more licenses. You have real data behind supporting additional licenses or less licenses that you're managing. One of the top reasons I see people go to networking is because it is the safest way to make sure you're in compliance. And with organizations like the BSA, which are, you know, independent software organizations and monitor compliance for all software companies like Microsoft and Autodesk included, I know a lot of our customers are familiar with organizations like this. In fact, KETIV is even going through an audit similar to that for Microsoft. And really, it's just a check to make sure that you're using licensing appropriately. And when you have a network environment set up, it really will, because the server's managing who's using the software and making sure only the right number of people are accessing it, it is the safest way to make sure you're in compliance. So that's really one of the first things I want to talk about in terms of trends we see and what we see customers doing to prepare for the change going forward. By doing this, you'll have a safe environment, and you'll be able to manage how many real licenses you need, not just have a gut feel, but really have data behind your usage within your company. The second thing we see customers doing, and we recommend you take a close look at, is look at your plans as you go forward. What are your hiring plans and growth plans for the next 6 to 12 months? If you're going to be hiring new engineers, or you're evaluating new products. Maybe you have AutoCAD and you're looking at a suite, or maybe you have a suite and you're looking at Vault for data management. Maybe you have Revit and you're looking at collaboration for Revit. If you're either evaluating technology or planning to add additional people, you'll want to lay out what that plan looks like, work with us, and let us give you a recommendation on acquiring licensing now to enjoy the perpetual license purchases that you're used to. This will keep your environment the same and allow you to just have an easier environment to manage as you go forward. And then the last thing is, if you really just want to have more time in terms of what to do with this, suites will continue to be available for purchase with maintenance subscription through August 1st is really when you'll no longer be able to do it. So through the end of September, you'll be able to continue to purchase suite licenses in a perpetual format. If you want that ability, some of our customers are taking their individual products and upgrading them to a suite for a few reasons. One, so they can continue to buy them in perpetual format, but two, so that they can benefit from the other products that exist in the suite. If you look at any of the suites that exist and you're evaluating additional software types, suites are the most economic way to add additional capabilities without having to buy a bunch of separate products. It gives you the most flexibility, most choice in terms of what your users can use as you go forward. So those are really the three things. Just to recap, look at networking. You want to look at your growth plan, add licensing now if you're able to, and then the third is consider moving over to a suite. And then some things that we're offering, our company's offering to help with the transition is there is an offer to acquire these these additional licenses with 0% financing. The 0% financing's for 12 months, and you do not have a payment for the first 4 months. So it allows you to really look at a longer-term plan in terms of what your usage is and acquire the licenses now, take advantage of the benefits that exist, and not have to pay for it for the first 4 months. thing is you're able to lock in your existing rates today. So if you have a maintenance subscription contract, talk to Joe, talk to the rest of the team about locking in the rates that exist today for maintenance subscription for a longer period. 2 years, 3 years exist for the maintenance subscription plans. Those of you on the line that may have licenses that have expired within the last year, so 365 days, you have the ability to bring those licenses current by simply paying for your maintenance subscription, and Autodesk is waiving the late fee that exists to do that. And then if you do think the desktop subscription option will work for you and is better for you, Autodesk has some introductory rates for that. You can save as much as 40% off on desktop subscription. So again, it is a good time to consider and look at that as you plan your future as well. So with that, I want to thank everyone again for attending. I know we have several questions that we want to get to, and like I mentioned, we will answer all the questions, even if it does take more time than we allotted for this session. So I encourage you to stay on and ask, or just listen to the answers that we respond to. I'm here again with Joe Meridian and Rich Sanchez, and we're ready to start taking questions. So thanks again for attending the session, and Andy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, so we're going to go back to questions. Question that came in from Steve, and I'm paraphrasing here. If a customer is already on maintenance subscription, will it continue to be available in the future? And if not, what are the options?
Yes, absolutely. So Autodesk is making no plans to change or cancel maintenance subscription. If you have a current subscription, a current maintenance subscription, you'll be able to continue to renew that as we move forward, definitely past the February date, definitely past the August date. Again, there's no chance, no plans to change that. So, you know, for people that have perpetual license on maintenance, you really won't see a change in this. You know, continue renewing. Make sure that you acquire additional licenses before these end dates for all new purchases if you need them. Otherwise, just continue your maintenance and you'll continue to receive the updates and all the benefits that you have been getting for the past few years.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Another question that came in from Naga, and if I misspell your name, I apologize. Question is just to confirm and clarify. If our maintenance lapses for the perpetual license and we want to upgrade in the future, what are the options?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is Joe here again, Naga. So you're correct. Yeah, if you have maintenance subscription that lapses for more than a year, then there is no path to simply renew that maintenance subscription for your perpetual licenses. If it's expired within the last 364 days, we can simply renew the maintenance subscription from the time it expired until now and get you current, and then you can continue on with maintenance subscription as we move forward. Excuse me. If you don't have maintenance subscription and you don't get current, you'll continue to be able to use your perpetual license for as long as you can run it. But let's say a year from now you need to get a new version to either work with additional customers of yours or just because you're getting new hardware and the old version doesn't work, then you will have to move to the desktop subscription, which is the new offering we're discussing here. So yes, if you have maintenance that expired in the last 364 days, we can renew it. You still have the option to buy a perpetual license now. If it's been past 365 days, or if you've never had maintenance, that's will be the option. If you do nothing now and 6 months to a year from now you need to get another license, you'll have to adopt the new program, which is the term-based rental program.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Question that came in from John. Will a read-only AutoCAD viewer be available for general use? Sort of like Adobe allowing you to view documents.
Hey, this is Rich. Yes, there is actually currently a read-only viewer. They're available for all of the products, AutoCAD, Inventor. There's also an online or web solution as well. If you want to go ahead and reach out to the support team, we'll be more than happy to help direct you specifically to those and find the best tool that fits your needs.
Great. Thank you, Rich. Doug has a question. Is there a financial advantage to stop paying maintenance on perpetual licenses and convert to desktop subscription?
That's another great question. Thanks, Andy. Doug, so no, if you have invested in a perpetual license and you have maintenance, it's going to be a lot more cost effective for you just to keep that maintenance up to date. If you were starting fresh today and you were going to use the term-based licensing for only a year, then it would make more sense for you to go that route. However, since you've already made the initial investment in perpetual licenses, continue on your maintenance. The annual recurring costs are much lower than the new desktop subscription because of that initial investment you made. And if you want to see exactly what that situation will look like for you and your organization, we can definitely take that offline and get you real numbers on what it would cost to keep your maintenance up to date versus acquiring the new model. We're more than happy to do that offline.
Great. Thank you, Joe. I have a question from, again, I apologize if I mispronounced your name, Deodora. I currently have a 2011 version and several 2014. What are my options?
Yeah, another great question. So I would really want to look at either some serial numbers or contract numbers to give you a definitive answer. We do have customers that are on maintenance that do have access to the newest versions. However, they are running 2014. If that's the case, then you can continue to renew the maintenance. If you really have a 2011 version and a 2014 version without maintenance, you have a few options. Throughout the end of this week, if you want to get a new version, you can buy a perpetual license with maintenance subscription. The maintenance will allow that license to get updates moving forward. And that's going to be this week only for individual products. So AutoCAD, Inventor, Civil 3D, you can purchase those this week. After February 1st, the only perpetual licenses you can buy are going to be suites. So if you need a product design suite, which includes Inventor, AutoCAD Mechanical, Vault, you can purchase those after February 1st, but only until the end of July 2016, because August 1st we're going to go to subscription only. The other option you have is if you want to adopt the desktop or pay-as-you-go model, those are available now and will continue to be available as we move forward.
The difference with pay-as-you-go, this is Anthony, just a reminder, is a pay-as-you-go desktop subscription. There is pretty heavy incentive for doing those now as well. So you'll want to really consider all the pricing options. And like Joe said, him or somebody on the team would be happy to put those together. So you can look at the different technically how they work and what the license model is, but financially what they look like. Would be happy to put that together.
All right. Question in from Dennis, and specifically about 3ds Max. Dennis wants to know which license will work best with things such as V-Ray.
So just to clarify, the different licensing options aren't going to affect the way the software operates. It's still going to function the same. So really any of the licensing models will still work just fine with any of your 3ds Max plugins such as V-Ray.
Okay, thanks, Rich. And again, if anyone has technical question that's specific to your situation, I highly recommend contacting Rich and our Lifeline support team. They're very good at helping customers with these type of situations. All right, moving on. I have a question from Sabina. What is the cost of subscription versus the cost of perpetual for a typical module comparison? Is there a initiation and termination fee for subscription model?
So yeah, thank you for that question, Sabina. So we can really get into the details of the maintenance subscription versus the desktop subscription. It varies a little bit based on the product, but there's no initiation fee for the subscription model, nor is there a termination fee. So let's say you want to pay, you want to buy the rights to use AutoCAD for 1 year. It's a one-time fee. You pay for it up front. You get the use of the license for a year. At the end of that, you can let it expire, which means that your use of the license will expire, or you can renew it at a similar rate to what you purchased it for, and then that'll continue your use of the software. So no, there's no additional fees. With the original model, the perpetual licenses, there's one large fee up front where you purchase the software, and then there's a small recurring fee to keep that software current. It's a little bit different now. It's an annual fee to buy an AutoCAD for a year. It's the same fee to renew it. So year over year, that might cost a little bit more than a perpetual license would, but it really depends on the software as far as specific dollar amounts. And I'm happy to follow up with you and apply some numbers to your exact situation so you can see where you will be at specifically.
Depending on the software, though, just to give you some frame of reference, I mean, it's usually anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 years, somewhere in there, to where you're going to start paying more for the subscription model. Okay, so if you're going to keep your license for 2.5 to 3.5 years, somewhere, and I say that there's a range because the prices are different for the different type of products, but if you're in that range, at some point in that range, you're going to start to pay more to keep your desktop subscription, which is why a lot of customers, especially those that have been using software for many years now, are choosing to buy Perpetual while they can, because they know they're going to use the licenses for a long period of time, and it will be more cost effective for them when you look out that far into the future.
Thanks, Anthony. Next question is from John. How would this work from locations that do not have access to the internet? For example, a remote job site.
That's a great question, John. We have a lot of customers that are in that same situation for whatever reason. Their job sites or their offices don't have an internet connection. I don't have an exact answer on that right now, but we do have other methods to activate the software. So we'll work with you and Autodesk to make sure that your software gets activated, that you can use it, and then we'll have to find the best solution going forward. But I'll follow up with you, and we can discuss this a little bit more in depth offline.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I just want to clarify too, John, that the desktop or the term-based licenses still run locally. Other than having to ping the Autodesk server to verify the term is still active, they do run locally. They store data locally, just like a perpetual license does. You just need to have an internet connection once every 30 days. Just to establish that connection and say, yeah, the license is current for another 3 months, or no, it expired yesterday. But it will run offline for 99% of the time, minus those monthly checks to the Autodesk server.
All right, thank you. Michelle has a question. Is plain vanilla AutoCAD considered a suite?
No, good question, Michelle. So no, AutoCAD on its own is just that. It's AutoCAD on its own. Same with AutoCAD Mechanical, AutoCAD Electrical, Inventor, Civil 3D. Those are called individual products. Suite products typically consist of about 5 to 10, maybe even more software titles within one suite. There are some instances where some simulation tools that are standalone will be offered until the end of July 2016, but for the most part, standalone products or individual products will not be offered on a perpetual basis after February 1st. If you have any more inquiries specific to products, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll answer those in a specific basis.
All right. We have a question from Ron. can temporary licenses be purchased? For example, he may need an AutoCAD license for 2 months.
Absolutely, Ron. So yes, this is one of the beauties of this new rental program, is many of our customers do not need a license more than a few months a year. So you can purchase that. Autodesk does sell monthly subscriptions directly. They also sell 3 months at a time with us, with resellers. So a bit more cost effective than going month to month, and it is not recurring. So if you were going to buy a monthly subscription with Autodesk, it would renew on its own at the end of that month, similar to a gym membership would. But yes, you can purchase them for less than a year, as little as 1 month at a time.
Thanks, Joe. David has a question. For existing maintenance subscription, I understand we can continue renewing as long as we do so on time. But what about adding new products or greater quantity during a subscription period or at time of renewal? Are add-ons to grandfathered maintenance subscription also subject to the Feb 1 and August 1 deadlines?
Yeah, that's another great question, David. So no, if you have an existing maintenance subscription, that will only be grandfathered in for your existing licenses on maintenance subscription. So let's say you have 10 AutoCADs on a maintenance plan that's current for another 2 years. When it expires in 2 years, if you do need to acquire additional licenses at that time, you will have to acquire those in a term-based manner. They will not sell you perpetual licenses because you already have them existing. So a lot of our customers that we work with, that they have maybe 10 AutoCAD licenses, they know within the next year or two they're going to have a big project, they're going to hire a couple more users, they're going to buy perpetual licenses now while they still can, just to prepare for that shift in the future. So if you can project permanent use, I would really suggest getting another perpetual license now rather than waiting for the
Hey, Joe, we lost your audio there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Just at the very end.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, my point with that is if you are planning on hiring additional users, or you're going to have a need for additional licenses for permanent use, I would really recommend looking at the options available now, which include Perpetual. That might make more sense for you on a financial basis in the long run. And again, we're happy to answer any questions that are specific to your situation. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. So if you're in that boat right now, I would really suggest contacting me, contacting Anthony. Your account manager will be more than happy to provide information specific to your needs so you can make an informed decision.
Okay. I have a question from Jeffrey that's sort of in the same vein, but Jeffrey asks, for customers who own multiple seats of multiple product suites, a lot of capital has been allocated to those purchases. Will any of these costs be credited at all if the suites are upgraded to the new lease or desktop platform, or is that just capital investment lost?
So I wouldn't say that it's capital investment loss, but no, there's no upgrade path from a perpetual license to a desktop license. There's no path that exists right now where you can essentially turn in a perpetual suite or individual product and get a new desktop license. The capital investment that you've made in those the licenses are going to remain working. If they're on maintenance, you're going to continue to get the updates as you have been in the past, which will prevent you from ever having to need to switch to the new subscription model, other than getting new licenses.
Yeah, those of you on maintenance subscription, there's no benefit to moving to desktop subscription. You just want to continue to maintain your maintenance subscription. As long as you do that, in terms of the feature set, the usability, all of that is really the same as going to desktop subscription. Desktop subscription is just a different way to pay for licensing. And so you want to just continue to maintain what you have. And if there's something we're missing in the question, again, if you give us a call right after this, we'll be available.
Great, thank you. And I have a question from Steve. In network licensing, how can we have the option that all the users can access the software at the same time?
Yeah, so you can definitely do that, Steve. If you have 10 users that need to use the software all the time, your licenses. So if there's a certain number of people that do need to use a license full time, you just need that number of licenses allocated for them to be used at the same time. So there's no way to share one license between two people at the same time. You just need to have two licenses so they can share those licenses simultaneously.
Great, thanks, Joe. I have another question from Naga. Will you be talking about the installation process for the new licenses? Currently, we have network licensing with FlexLM and a license server. Now, the software clients need to be installed with specific settings to use the network license versus standalone. How is the client installation handled for the subscriptions, and how will this interact with our current network license and server?
That's a great question, Nada. This is Rich. So there is going to be a network option for the term-based or subscription model, and it's going to work very much the same way. You're still going to use a FlexLM licensing server that all of your client machines will access. So if you're going to purchase new licenses on the term-based, have to change the way it works now. You could stick with what you currently have. And you can still use that same licensing server. We'll just be adding more licenses to it.
Okay. And you want Rich to take a look at your specific situation, contact us. Question from Abby. What is the difference between a suite and a seat? Also, is there savings by moving to a network option with specific people or computers with access to the software as opposed to individual perpetual licenses? And a network subscription is not cloud-based. Is that correct? I know there's like three-part questions there.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. This is Joe. I'm going to answer those in a couple different parts, and I think I might need some help from Rich here. But there's really no difference between a suite and a seat. A seat just refers to a license of software. A seat refers to, one perpetual license, one user is kind of what that refers to. The main difference is a suite contains more than one product on its own. So that's
Hey, Joe, can you repeat that last part you cut out there?
Yeah, sorry about that. So I'm not entirely sure where I cut off, but there's not a big difference between a suite and a seat. A seat is just another word used for a license. The difference between a suite and an individual product is really the comparison. A suite compares, a suite is comprised of multiple products, while an individual product is just that one product on its own. So that's basically the answer to the first part of that question.
The second part, let me repeat, is there a savings by moving to a network option with specific people or computers with access to the software as opposed to our individual perpetual licenses?
Yeah, so there is a bit of savings, Abby. If you have two engineers, say, that use a license about 50-60% of the time each, then it would be more cost effective for you to have a network license that they can share rather than having two perpetual licenses for them all the time. When you have a network license, the maintenance subscription is the same as it is for a standalone license. So it makes a lot more sense to, number one, convert a perpetual license to a network because the cost is much less than buying two. And as you maintain it, you only have to maintain one license per year instead of two. So there is a savings to doing that. However, if you have two full-time users that need to access the software simultaneously throughout the day, then that option will not be the best for you. It'd be better for you to have a license for each of them to access.
All right. And the third part of Abby's question was a network subscription is not cloud-based. Is that correct?
This is Rich. I'll go ahead and jump in on that last part. That's correct. A network subscription is not cloud-based. The only time your computer will need to access the internet is, again, to validate the license. And when you're on the network model, your client machine using will only communicate with your in-house licensing server. That server will in turn contact the Autodesk server to validate your licenses. And again, that only happens once every 30 days.
All right. Thanks, Rich. And I think we're at the almost to the top of the hour, so we have one more question left, so timing is just about right. From Steve. Is there a difference in price in having more than one desktop subscription and network subscription with more than 2 users to be allowed the use of the same product licenses at the same time?
So I'm rereading this question here, Steve, just to make sure that I understand it correctly. So no, I think what you're asking is if you have a network desktop subscription, is there a difference in price if that's shared between 2 users or, say, 5 users? No, there's not a difference. You just have to make sure that if there's 5, 10 users sharing one license, they just can't do it concurrently. But no, that it is not scaled up with the number of users that are sharing that license. You just need to make sure that you have enough licenses to accommodate the fact that there might be more than one person that needs the software at a time. So that's the way I read the question. If you have a follow-up question or anything like that, you can retype your question in here, or I can follow up with you after this, specific to your needs.
Yeah, I think a personal follow-up would be perfect, Joe.
Okay.
All right. With that, I want to respect everybody's time. That's all the questions that we have. Thanks for joining us today, and I want to pass it back to Anthony for closing.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Thank you all for attending. Like we've talked about, there's only a few days left here. I know our team is working close with a lot of customers already. We're available for you to reach out to and make sure, even if you don't think you need to acquire something, just to make sure you understand the options specifically to your environment. That's what we're here for. I encourage you to reach out to our Lifeline team for technical related questions, to our subscription team for those of you that have subscription contracts and maybe want to take advantage of looking at extending those out for multiple years. I encourage you to reach out to me directly if you have any questions that you'd like me to address. And then all of you should know who your account manager is for any new software purchases, new acquisitions. They're obviously available. I want to thank all of you for continuing to deliver these answers that you have. We're here for that, and we value you attending the session and want to make sure that everything is clear as you go forward. So continue to ask and reach out, and we'll look forward to talking to you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic day.